The Weekly starts now.
I am Diane Welhouse, and I'm the Executive Director of NARI Milwaukee.
NARI Milwaukee has had in-person meetings and events like the Fall Home Show. Have there been any reports of coronavirus cases linked to those events?
No, so far we have been very successful in hosting safe and healthy events for not only our members, but the consumers too that are attending these. And we've had no reported cases of COVID associated with our events.
And that's pretty remarkable because how many people attended the Fall Home Show?
The Fall Home Show, we had 145 booth spaces that were there, or approximately 80 of our members participated, and we had well over 2,000 attendees that had attended from the community.
So in public conversation, there seems to be kind of this polarization of two camps, where one camp being, it's really dangerous out there, we have to shut everything down, and the other camp being, it's a hoax, like open everything back up. But that's not where you guys stand. Can you explain your thought process and how you balance safety with also the economy?
Sure. We think the virus is serious, and we certainly don't want to do anything that would jeopardize the health and safety of our team, our members, and the consumers that are out there. But we've been running home shows for 59 years, and we believe that we run a standard home show really well. So we felt that we could proceed moving forward, running a home show that would be safe. And we took many precautions to do that. We partnered with not only the host facility, but our exposition company as well, came up with a game plan to be able to do that. NARI Milwaukee is comprised of 80% of our members are 10 employees or less. And with that, they really rely on these events to connect to the community, to keep their businesses moving forward. And during a tough time in this type of economy, we wanted to make sure that we could continue to deliver our promise to our members in terms of delivering the home shows and connecting them with the consumers, so that consumers are getting the most professional remodelers possible for their renovations.
So what was your process for safety like, both at the home show and then also I know that you're continuing to host some in-person meetings as well for your members?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're obviously following all the guidelines by the CDC and the various state ordinances that we have too. So in terms of making sure everybody is obviously social distance. So at a home show or even at some of the other events that we ran, we're making sure that everything is well spaced apart, 10-foot aisles or 10-foot distances between tables. We're making sure that there are plenty of hand sanitizers available, frequent regular cleaning throughout the facility. We're using one-way aisle patterns as well in areas like at the home show, so that consumers feel comfortable all going in the same direction, not having to pass people, and that those aisles are over 10 feet wide so that they're able to comfortably walk around each other as well. And obviously we're doing a mask mandate. Everybody that's there has to do that. We did do temperature checks at our last event that we held last week. So as guests had entered the building, they were stopped at the door, they were asked some health questions, and then they were given a temperature check before they could enter.
So how has the response been to both attendees at the home show and then members with these safety guidelines? How do you make sure everybody's following the guidelines to make sure everybody's safe?
So before we even ran the event, we had sent out safety guidelines specifically to our members and basically asked everybody to commit to following the rules that we had in place, because otherwise we can't do this, right? We have to all be on the same team. We have to believe in the same theories of keeping the economy going, but also making sure that we're doing it as safely as possible. So our members had to commit to a pledge to follow certain accordances. They had to put together their own health and safety plan for their booth spaces too, besides our global plan that we had for the entire event. So, and then obviously, our staff is there. Not to say that we police the event, but we walk the aisles regularly to ensure everyone is complying. And if there were any outliers, a quick little, hey, don't forget, put your mask back on type of thing after they drank some water or had a snack. But otherwise, our members were 100% on board. They wanted to be able to do this show. They wanted to connect with consumers, and we were all on the same page that health and safety absolutely had to come first.
There were in-person shows that got canceled, national ones in the beginning of the year, and then recently the International Builder Show has become IBSX. So what do you think the difference is between your in-person shows and these shows? How are you able to continue having them in person?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is first of all, we're local. We're not having to fly anywhere. We're not asking people to get on planes, take up residency in a hotel. And we're not having that volume of people converge in one space at one particular time. You know, KBIS IBIS is a huge show. It's got thousands of people there that all converge for a very short period of time on that show floor. So for us, we know that our traffic patterns, our show is over the course of 3 days. We typically bring, 5,000 or so people to this particular show. It's one of our smaller shows. And we understand the traffic patterns. And because we understand how consumers come, it wasn't like a football game. It wasn't like 70,000 people were converging at our show from noon to 3 and then all dispersing, and they all were going to be shoulder to shoulder, because we knew we could control the capacity, and we did have controls at the door to ensure that we were at the state order of 25% capacity on the show floor at all times, and just making sure that traffic was moving evenly throughout the show. It was something we were able to control, and we knew that we could do that. I'm not so sure when you're doing something like KBIS, IBIS, that's an area where that's really feasible because of the amount of people that are coming for such a short period of time.
Going back to some of the safety precautions that you had, let's just say somebody came without a mask to the show. Were there masks available for them? Oh, here, put this on, or would they have to go back to their car? Or what was that process like?
It was their choice. We had masks available for them if they came in without one. And as soon as they came in without one, we had our registration desk right there as folks came through the door, along with hand sanitizers and everything else. So as people came in, if we saw someone not wearing a mask and it didn't appear that they had a mask, we immediately offered them a mask and told them that the mask was a mandate of being in attendance at the show. We did have some consumers that literally turned around and said, "I'll be right back," and went back to their car and got their mask because they had forgotten it. But we had very few people that walked through the door without one. And if they did and we handed them one, they had no issues with putting it on and wearing it throughout the show.
And then for the temperature checks, did anybody come back with a temperature that you had to turn away from the meeting? And then 2, if not, what was that process? If somebody did, then what are the next steps?
So we amazingly had no one that we had to turn away. We had some people that had some really low temperatures. We were concerned if they were actually living. So we were glad about that. People came in, they had no problems with us taking their temperature, stopping at the door. A lot of jokes about, shoot me, hands are up because here comes this gun to my head. But people really respected the process and went with it. Had we had the event where someone was going to have a temperature that was out of range, we would have asked those individuals to leave and we would have refunded their money for the event.
So looking toward the future, cases are rising. I know that there are some plans in the works to possibly have the spring home show in person as well. How are you planning to respond to the rise in cases? And then what's your adaptation strategy looking forward?
So we're already in the move and shake mode because we have been told that the exposition center where we hold this event, and our spring show is a very large event. We have over 500 booth spaces, 250 of our member companies participate. We bring almost 15,000 people through this event. But State Fair Park currently has a alternative care facility in the exposition center, and our governor has extended his lease on that property through the end of February. So our show that was scheduled for middle of February is not going to happen at that time. We are currently working with State Fair on new dates. We intend to, if we can, find new dates to be able to host our show, proceed forward with it. But at this point in time, that's a little bit up in the air. If we do proceed with the show, and a lot of it's going to depend upon, because now we're going to go later into the year, right? We're going to be looking at April, May type of a time frame at this point. And if we're going to go later in the year, a lot of our precautionary measures will all be based upon what is the climate at the time. Where are we at with this virus? Is there a vaccine in place? Do people have it? And then what additional cautions do we want to make ourselves, regardless of what is happening in the community?
Well, thank you so much, Diane, for joining me on The Weekly.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.